Welcome back. I hope you're doing well. So today, as per requested, I'm going to be reading from a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. This poem is called The Raven. I don't know, maybe it's a little cliche to read this one, but I like this one. I think it's a cool one, and there are some nice passages that I think are definitely worth revisiting. So I printed this out. As you can see, I'm not reading this from a book. I actually printed this out from Poetry Foundation. That's poetryfoundation.org. poetryfoundation.org. It's definitely a cool resource. It's a cool site. I like it. They've got all kinds of stuff on there, mainly things that are currently no longer copyrighted, I believe. So The Raven, of course, is going to be a primary example of something like that, right? It's a classic, but it's currently not under copyright, to my knowledge. Okay. So let's get started. This one's kind of long, but I think I'm going to go through the whole thing. So let's just see what happens. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And then the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merrily this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a monument, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, though thy crest be shorn and shaven thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim, an ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled, this ungainly fowl, to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated over, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating over, she shall press, ah, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thinking of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I streaked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamp light over him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. So, that's The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, read by me. Couple hiccups here and there, but probably not too bad. There was an airplane that went by at one point, and I just kind of paused for a moment. I was thinking about editing it out, but I'm just going to leave it. So again, instead of reading from a book, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have like the pages, to get those kinds of page sounds. And also because the print's a little bit larger, a little bit easier to read. And I got this from poetryfoundation.org. So poetryfoundation.org. You can just Google it. I think it's available everywhere. So if you just punch that into your browser, it should pull up a really nice page, and you could just search things. Generally, I believe they specialize in poems that are no longer copyright protected. So it's a really nice resource, especially if you're looking for things that are 19th century, 18th century, 17th century. They have Shakespeare on there. They've got all kinds of cool stuff. And again, they've got you can print it out so that the font is large enough to, read from afar or whatever you want. You can also copy paste it into a document. It just makes it really easy. Again, a lot of these things we have in book form, but it's nice sometimes to just have it in page form, especially if you want to mark it up for an assignment or for a particular project or something like that. It can be nice. So that's poetryfoundation.org. Not sponsored by them or anything. I just like them, and I've used their website many times over the years. This is Poetry Foundation. I guess they have an office. 61 West Superior Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60654. And they have hours as well. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I don't know if that's if you email them for something or if you call them, or perhaps they have an office that you can visit. I would imagine at this point they do have an office. But the internet, of course, is open 24/7. So you can find this anytime you want. So I hope you enjoyed that. Again, thank you to those of you who have suggested things. If you have any suggestions for the future, I would be more than happy to take those suggestions. If you want a particular thing read, or you want me to discuss a particular thing, or do a particular thing, maybe writing or drawing or anything like that, just let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an excellent day, night, week, weekend, whatever it is you're going into. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.